Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia Jay, and I'm here with the one and the only Terrika Foster-Brasby. We're here to talk all about women's sports as we normally do. But Terrika, I just got to say, loving the hair, okay? Like, you better do it, period.
I'm trying to be a redhead all summer. I heard they have more fun, so I want to see for myself.
Yeah, well, I need to tap into that too, because the summer has been rough a little bit on many levels. But one thing that has not, been rough is these camp days that are happening with the WNBA. Kids are definitely having fun going to those this summer. It's something that the league has been doing for a really long time. For people who don't know, they're normally weekday games, early games where they allow kids that are in camp to come and have fun at these W games and get exposed to what I think is the best league on earth. But anyways, that's another time for another discussion. But there are a lot of chatter around these camp day. I mean, listen, on social, people are going to talk about anything and everything they can, but there's been a lot of chatter about these camp day games. And Terrika, I know you actually had a tweet, and I just wanted to look at it really quick right here. I thought this was hilarious.
Yes,
if we could throw that up. Yeah, so imagine having to play an 11 a.m. inside of a casino, right? They're obviously referring to the Sun. Connecticut Sun. And then Terrika said, with a bunch of energetic little people. Terrika, obviously we see that you had this funny comment, but what are your thoughts on WNBA camp day games?
So I joke a lot because I am not a morning person. Like, I would be the first to tell you that if the world didn't start until after 12 p.m., I'd be okay with that. Like, I am not a morning person. But overall, this is just such a good and enjoyable environment. It is so much fun. The kids are just so energetic. They're happy to be there. They're cheering for and with everything. And a lot of the players say that their energy kind of channels into the energy that's on the court. I mean, when you're a player, you obviously have to go through a little bit of a different routine when you're playing at 11 o'clock in the morning. Your body starts earlier. The caffeine is flowing from somewhere. So it's a little bit of a different start from you. But a lot of the players say they feed off the energy. And keep in mind, in a lot of these areas, this game is probably the only game that some of them may actually get an opportunity to go to. So it's not just about, having kids at a game. It's about exposing them to something different. It's about giving them access. It's about starting in the new generation of WNBA fans because, if you can see it, you can be it. And parents, and I won't even say parents, but adult fans just gonna have to get over themselves a little bit, sneak in. And I think a lot of the conversation is about, well, I'm not able to watch or attend at 11 or 12 o'clock in the morning because it's the middle of my workday. You watching them little clips on TikTok, you watching them stories on Instagram. You can watch a game on your phone if you really wanted to. So let the kids have their day.
Let the kids have the day. Let kids get exposure, like you said, to a game that they may have not seen before. And it's also important to note that a lot of these games are discounted as well to give people that aren't normally able to, attend because of pricing, because not everyone can afford a ticket no matter how much it is. But people who can't afford pricing to be able to experience a game. So there's a lot of levels to it that are amazing. And I don't see any problem with it. And I don't understand why people would have problems with it because it's something that they've been doing. It has enhanced the marketing and keep the camp day games. OK, that's just what I'm here for. One player that, kids would love to see on these camp day games is A'ja Wilson. But unfortunately, she just had an injury. She suffered an injury in the Aces game versus New York, and she hurt her wrist, unfortunately. So, she had a tweet about it that kind of everybody was a little nervous after this tweet. But she said, well, nothing wakes you up like the sound of an MRI machine. But just want to say thank you for all your prayers. Thank you so much for the quick help and the privacy. I truly appreciate it. To my squad, thank you for preventing my crash out. God has a plan that I'll never question. We are going to be all right. And this is obviously a blow to an Aces team that is already struggling on some level. And, it's tough to see. You don't want to see anybody injured, especially A'ja Wilson as well. So, Terrika, when you kind of look at what the trajectory is after this injury, what do you think this means for the Aces?
Well, I mean, yeah, it is. Even if it's just a game or two, or if it, is extended into some extended time, you do not ever want to have A'ja Wilson off the floor. You do not ever want to be in a position where you have to play without literally the best player in the world. And so it changes the dynamic on both ends of the floor for this Aces team if they're not able to have her. And I think you could see that evidently in the game against New York when she actually had the injury. It just, the defense changes, the post presence changes, the inside game changes. And they have Nalissa Smith, who's, pretty brand new. She's still adjusting, but everything flows through A'ja for this Aces team. And so when you don't have her to, be the catalyst for your defense, when you don't have her to be the leader on the floor, you really have to play a little bit differently. And this is an Aces team that is quite literally going through the ebbs and flows of the season. They're literally trying to adjust to a new brand identity with the pieces that they currently have. And I don't want to necessarily say they're struggling, but they're just not necessarily playing at the level that we have become accustomed to seeing them play. So you do run the risk of figuring out what to do from here when you don't have A'ja Wilson on the floor. But most importantly, you just want to make sure that she's healthy and that this All-Star break could not probably come at a better time. If she does need to miss some extended time, at least now there's a week and some change that she can take to kind of heal up.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a tweet out there that said, put A'ja in some rice, and she agreed. I mean, we definitely want A'ja to be back as soon as possible, but we also don't want to rush it. Before we go to break, we have to talk about something monumental that happened yesterday, and that was Angel Reese. Not only did she come out with her signature shoe from Reebok, she also debuted it on the 2K cover, the WNBA edition 2K cover. I mean, listen, do your thing, Angel. She is doing it on every level, not only on the court, but off the court. What is the significance of something like this, Terrika? I mean, come on, Angel.
Is in her bag right now. And I could not be more happy and more proud for her because literally she is doing everything in this exact moment the way that only a pro and a star can. Her play is incredible. She's continuing to break records on the court. Now she's on the cover of 2K. Now she's debuting her shoe. Now she has her Me Bounce brand. Angel, keep doing you, girl, because no matter what people say and how people come at you, you always find a way to bounce back to have the last laugh. So I love this for her. I don't know if an athlete has ever debuted their signature shoe on the cover of 2K. So she might be etching herself in a whole different record book at this point.
Absolutely. You keep doing it, Angel, and we're going to keep doing it right here on We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T when we come back. And we're going to talk a little bit about this Connecticut Sun sale. So stay tuned and come back after these messages because we're going to talk all about it. Welcome back to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia Jay, and I'm here with Terrika Foster-Brasby. And Terrika, we got to get into all this discussion about the Connecticut Sun. Now, earlier this week, Boston women's basketball partners spokesman AJ Garrettson told the Boston Globe that the Mohegan Tribe, which owns the Sun, is seeking investment partners or a new ownership group. And specifically, they're looking for a group that is going to keep the team in Connecticut, saying in terms of the path forward for us, it looks more and more like it's going to be expansion. And they were unable to submit a formal bid in the last round of expansion due to timing. So do you think, looking at this, a lot of people have been saying that they should move to Boston, that this team shouldn't be in Connecticut. And, there's a lot of chatter talking about that. Do you think that this team should make a move to Boston amongst everything that is being said about the Sun?
Well, now this is definitely going to come across as biased, and I do not care because I am the sideline reporter for the Connecticut Sun. And so obviously, I would love to see this team remain in Connecticut. Connecticut is a state that has a huge and loyal women's basketball fan base, and you can absolutely credit that to the University of Connecticut. They are Husky fans, and they love to see their Huskies go on to play in the WNBA, and they will turn out to support every single one of them, no matter who they are. And so when Mohegan Sun is playing against a team that has Huskies on their team, or excuse me, when the Connecticut Sun is playing against a team that has UConn former players or whatever on the team, they turn out in droves. And it just continues to show how much the fans love women's basketball here. So I love the idea of Connecticut remaining a place that represents all of New England. And I think that this misconception that there was an interest in taking the team to Boston stems from the fact that they play games in Boston now. It started last year. This upcoming week, they will be playing against the Indiana Fever in Boston in the Garden. And it's a fun environment. It's a fun atmosphere. And I know for a fact that speaking with Jennifer Rosati, the president of basketball operations for the Connecticut Sun, she made it clear that the point and purpose of going to Boston is because they want to generate this atmosphere like they have with the New England Patriots. When you think of the New England Patriots in the NFL, it doesn't just represent the state of Massachusetts. It represents all the states within the New England area. And that's what they're trying to do with the Connecticut Sun. They want the Sun to be the WNBA team that represents all of the New England area. And I think the Mohegan tribe understands the value and understands the loyalty of the fans here and want to keep that while also trying to be fiscally savvy with the investment because they know, right? I mean, when you look around the league, you know that you have to invest in the facilities. You know that you have to invest in a place that is going to provide all of the amenities that the other teams are providing their players, or else you're going to find it incredibly difficult to keep star players and to attract star players to your team. I do hope that one of the considerations with this team moving or at least remaining in Connecticut is the option of playing in a larger city. Hartford and New Haven are the two larger, more metropolis cities in Connecticut. Hartford is the capital. It's 45 minutes away from Mohegan. It's easy to get to. And the XL Center is right downtown, right? I believe it just went under renovations and it's under a new name. It would be incredible to have the team, which used to actually play in that building early on when it first moved to Connecticut, to play there again. University of Connecticut, UConn, they play some games down there at the XL Center. It is always a sold out affair. It's a great environment, right? They just built a sports book behind it as well. So when you talk about like doing new things and renovating new things, this would be a great opportunity for Connecticut to kind of reinvent itself. It's easier and a little bit more accessible. So those who don't have an opportunity to drive out to Mohegan Sun would find it easier to get downtown Hartford to support the team. But I do love the fact that Mohegan is saying, listen, we do want to make a fiscally responsible move and investing in the team, but we understand that means taking on a new partner and potentially new ownership, but we don't want to turn our back on our fans here. And I could appreciate that.
Yeah, I absolutely love what you said. If you have a fan base that is supporting this team and wants to be there, you have a city that is absolutely basketball centric in a lot of ways, just put some investment in there. When you have both of those together, that combination is going to be very powerful for, a franchise that we know has been successful and can be successful with the right investment. So man, Connecticut, let's go. Let's pair that investment with what's already there and see the magic that happens. I mean, you see what's happening with the Valkyries. Like they already have this like built-in fan base that had been wanting this team to come. And it's just with the investment, it's just all like really exploded in something beautiful. So we can definitely do that in Connecticut. Let's go.
I will say this, though. I do think that at some point, Boston is going to vie for its own WNBA team. And, I believe that a fan base could be there for that. But I have seen the relationship between the Boston Celtics and the Connecticut Sun. Just this past Monday, a few players from the Sun actually went to a Red Sox game, MLB, to throw out the first pitch and just enjoy. So there is a budding connection between the Connecticut Sun and the other other professional teams within the Hartford and the Boston area. So although I'm sure Boston wants its own team, it's not doing a disservice for them to kind of take on what's happening with Connecticut right now.
No, I mean, you can dip into Boston too. You're right there. So you might as well do it. And it looks like they have been. So that's definitely something special that is brewing there for sure. And we'll keep tabs on it. But something that's also special is this All-Star game coming up, Terrika. We talked about this live. Myself and Ashley Nicole Moss, we have a live kind of breakdown of the draft, the All-Star draft on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe and check that out. But Terrika, we didn't get your thoughts. So how excited are you for this All-Star game after seeing these teams that were drafted?
Well, I'm going to toot my own horn for a quick second because me and my girl Cheryl Swoops did a mock draft where she was captain of Team Clark and I was captain of Team Fee. And we literally nailed this draft. Like, I think the only one that we both got wrong was I selected Jackie Young to be on Team Fee and she selected Skylar, and they switched. So I wasn't surprised at all because essentially I predicted that it would look like this. So I love it. It's going to be so much fun. I'm rolling with Team Collier. I think that this is not the NBA, right? So when we talk about, oh, there's no defense in the All-Star game. No, there's no defense in the NBA All-Star game. The girls is playing defense, and Fee picked some stars that are known for their defensive prowess, and I can't wait to see somebody's shot get pinned to the backboard. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited about it. I love the starters. You know, I love that Paige is getting an opportunity to play along her big Huskies with Fee and Brianna Stewart. So I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about it too. I'm also Team Fee all the way. So we'll see if we both get to toot our own horns after the All-Star game to see if we picked it right. But you know what? I'm so excited because when we come back, we're going to have a vibe check, something that we need to talk about for sure. You're going to want to hear everything we have to say. So come back after this break and we'll see you soon right here on it. We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. Welcome back to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. And as promised, we are bringing you a vibe check. And Terrika, we got to talk about the WNBA CBA. There has been a lot of talk that is already happening. We are a little less than 4 months away from the current CBA expiring. And we know that the Players Association has already rejected the league's initial offer. And Satu Sabali actually had something to say that we talked about last week, that it was the first offer was a slap in the face. And then Brianna Stewart said that the two sides are on completely different sides of the game. So anytime you go back and forth, you're not expecting to hear that yes on the first proposal, but you're expecting to have a conversation. They kind of just ignored everything that we said. Now, these aren't the only two players that have made comments. There has been a lot of conversation around this, but with everything that we know now and that we have seen so far, what do you think? You know, is the NBA going towards a lockout, Terrika?
I was one who said and kind of still feel that, like, I'm not surprised that the first proposal was very less than desirable for the players, right? Just anybody who's ever been at the negotiation table, they know that the first proposal is always trash. And but there is a difference between being small and being disrespectful, right? And so what I am hoping that the WNBA did not do was be disrespectful in their first proposal, right? But starting small, that's what most negotiators do in the very first proposal that comes across the table. So I'm not surprised with that. I have been on record saying that I think this is going to go the distance. I think they're going to take this thing all the way through October, November. And I know that with the momentum, with the expansion talks, with the momentum that the players are getting, with all of the other leagues that are surrounding it, I truly and genuinely do not think that they want to get to the point of a lockout. But I don't think they're above it. I don't think they're above it. I think they will absolutely say, hey, listen, push us to the edge and we will cross over it, because they understand their value. They understand their worth. And at this point in time, it has been far too long where they have not been given exactly what they deserve, the equity that they should have had years ago. So I think the players are, and when you look at the players on the WNBPA Association board, the president, Nneka Ogwumike, the vice president, these are very vocal people. They're very vocal leaders. And the president, Terry Jackson, she's also been very clear and very vocal, like, we are not going to settle. Like, we are going to go for exactly what it is that we have outlined, our critical points for us, and we won't take anything less than that. So I hope and pray that they are able to get this done efficiently. I do not believe that it's going to be quick. I don't think that this process is going to be over before the season ends, but I hope that they do not reach a point where they will need to lock out. But I for no reason do I think that the players won't do it. I genuinely believe that they will go the distance if necessary to ensure their point is made. This is a league that has not played games due to Black Lives Matter violence. This is a league that has stood up and said that, they will not be silenced. These are players in a league that have literally flipped a Senate. There is no reason for us to think that they won't sit out a season if necessary to ensure they get what they're just.
Yeah, whether it be record attendance, blockbuster television deals, merchandise, the money is coming in on all levels because of what the players are doing, the groundwork that the players have had before them, the players that are currently there now. Everything that is happening that is so incredibly positive and it's only growing in this league is because of the players, right? And so when you see what they're doing and you know that they deserve more, to have a player say that it's a slap in the face or that they were ignoring, that is what my concern is. I understand that it's not going to happen on the first pass. It never does, right? But when you feel like you're being disrespected, that's when my antennas go up, because it seems like they're not being heard at all. But what the league needs to understand is they're kind of giving them a blueprint to what the negotiations need to be and where it needs to go so that we won't have a lockout. But like you said, they 1000% will do it if they have to. And they should. And they should, as players that have a CBA and they want to make sure that they're set up right and that future generations of players are set up right. It is something that you have to do in order to get what you deserve and what is coming for you. And these quotes that we're seeing, there's one that I want to read right now. Gabby Williams said prioritization would make more sense if the salaries were higher. It's hard to make prioritization a thing when we're still paid much more, or much better rather, overseas. It's amazing that we now have Unrivaled. The WNBA owes a huge thank you to them. Unrivaled has actually saved a lot of WNBA players and a lot of WNBA teams from not having players there on time because our contracts just aren't enough to commit to for a full season and nothing else here. When you hear something like that, Terrika, what are your thoughts on prioritization, that specific part of the CBA, and what the WNBA should be doing in terms of prioritization? Because it looks like it is a really big thing for the players, as it should be.
It definitely should be, because, again, these players are making their bread and butter playing overseas. And if you're playing for a good team that has a season that lasts a little longer, and this also kind of plays into what we spoke about last week, where, remember I was telling you guys that I had a conversation with Commissioner Kathy Engelberg about that very thing. And part of that was, how do we start and end the season in a way that is conducive to our international partners and to international play? And when you've got players who have committed to their international teams because they are being paid handsomely to play for those international teams, to put them in a position where they have to decide whether or not I want to play for the W or continue to make my money over here. I mean, in a way, it's a no-brainer. And Gabby Williams is the perfect person to speak out about this, because she has absolutely refused to play a season so that she could fulfill her obligations to the French national team, which paid off in more ways than one for her, right? And so I think that when we're talking about prioritization, we really have to consider how important it is to, one, ensure that the players are able to fulfill their overseas obligations, but two, ensure they have enough time to come back here. And I think it absolutely does have to, I believe it has to be a consideration of potentially starting the season a little later. And again, I know this is something that Commissioner Kathy Engelbert said it is very difficult at times, but you have to put that consideration. Otherwise, you're going to continue to run the risk of players who will choose to play for more money with their international team than to play here in the United States. And it won't be because they don't want to be in the WNBA, but it will absolutely be because I have to make a financially responsible choice, and that is to get where I'm going to be paid more and more respected. So I 100% think Gabby Williams is correct with her assessment. Again, I feel like she's one of the people who have more rights than others to speak about this potential subject because of how she has personally been affected by the prioritization rule.
So prioritization is obviously something, and we've talked about this, but what do you think is one of the biggest wins for the players going into the CBA that you think and you hope to see?
It has to be the increase in salary. Like, to me, that is a no-brainer. Increase in salary has, we've heard them say that it is top of their list, but at this point, there is genuinely no evidence that they can provide to support why it can't be feasible. We've already seen the numbers come out about the media deals and what that will look like financially for the league. We've already seen the increase in viewership. We've already seen the increase in merchandising. We have started to see the WNBA actually authorize more people to sell merchandise so that more people can get their hands on it. So at this point, it is difficult to consider a case in which increasing salaries does not make sense for the players. And I hope that means increasing salaries for the broadcast team too, because we could use a few extra dollars.
We definitely could use a few extra dollars. I definitely want to see that increase. And Terrika, when we come back, we're going to be talking about an increase that is in the NCAA. They're talking about expanding the tournament, Terrika, and we're going to talk all about it right when we come back with We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. Welcome back to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. And we are going to make our case about something that is happening right now, Terrika. We're talking a little bit of college basketball right now. Rumor has it that the NCAA could expand to the men's basketball tournament rather to 72 and potentially even 76 teams. And should that happen, the women's tournament would follow suit. And, you know, we've talked about WNBA expansion, but let's talk about this expansion, this possible expansion in the NCAA tournament. What are your thoughts on expanding to this many teams?
We already doing the most with 68, okay? And that's because the play-in, like the first four, I actually like that first four. It's fun. It gives, you know, somebody a new opportunity. I like it. It's cute. I like it. Let's keep that. 72 says at this point, we might as well just start giving away participation trophies and just let everybody come. We might as well just let everybody in every conference get in. The whole entire point of the tournament is so that you can do your best throughout the regular season and the conference tournament to make a case for your team to make it to the field of 68. That is the point. it just feels like we are taking away the privilege that is associated with making the NCAA tournament by expanding. Like, again, I get it. You want to see more teams, you want to take advantage, but this is a real capitalistic approach. It feels like it's just a way to make more money. I do not think it truly honors what it means to play your heart out to make it to the field of 68. And so I'm not on board, men's or women's. I think there's a lot of great basketball that's being played, but I think you got to earn your spot to the NCAA tournament. And that is not an easy feat. It's not something that should be easy to do. We don't need to make it easier for other people by adding more teams to the field.
Yeah, Terrika, we're agreeing on everything today because I agree with everything that you said. And in addition, it's one of those cases to me where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, the tournament is so magical. It's something that everybody looks forward to every year, men's or women's. And people are on lockdown in March for a reason. You know, it is March Madness. People love this tournament the way that it is. Why are we mixing things up? Why are we doing that? Everything that we have seen and experienced in the tournament so far has been stellar. So I just don't think you need to mix it up at all. But just for the sake of argument, a lot of people are saying that there are teams that, you know, haven't made the tournament in, you know, years past that could make it because they're adding these teams. What are your thoughts on that argument? Because I don't know. I don't know about that. I can't make my case on that one.
Your conference. That's the case. Win your conference. Help recruit. Do whatever you need to do to figure it out. But what we cannot do is offer participation trophies just so that you can possibly say my team made it. Listen, I am one who advocates for HBCUs. I feel like I'm an HBCU graduate. I feel like we never get the respect that we deserve in the tournament. This past season, Norfolk State almost put the world on notice when it almost took down Maryland. I was incredibly excited about that. I felt like they deserved to be there. I talk about all the time how they're not seeded high enough, but these are teams that have earned and worked their way. Norfolk State, Howard University, Jackson State. These are teams that have earned and worked their way through their conference, and they deserve to be there. We're not just giving people opportunities to be there just because. So if your team has never been to an NCAA tournament before, then I suggest you figure out where you need to make a tweak here or there so that you can get your team in the conference. But we can, like, I as a competitor, I played basketball, softball, volleyball, all in college. And I would not be happy with knowing I only got in the tournament because they expanded it for a couple more teams. I would feel like,
Right. I would feel the same way. I also played basketball, and I just remember just the urgency of knowing that there was a tournament to get to. And, you know, when you're playing all season, you always have that in the back of your mind. It's something that, like, the coaches plan the schedule for, the teams that you're playing. There is a plan laid out to that spot. And having the amount of teams in the tournament that's already there is essential because, like you said, not everyone can get a spot. So you're going to be playing with veracity for the whole entire season because you know that it's select. That's what a tournament is. That is what it is.
Yes. Yes, I will say this, though. The one thing that could almost make me change my mind, is the financial aspect. I do know that specifically in the women's tournament that they don't host these first couple of games in neutral sites. They usually host them at whatever school it is that has the home court advantage. And there is a financial incentive to having your school hosting an NCAA game. And so if it is a school, like I said, I'm always advocating for HBCUs. HBCUs need that kind of money. They could use that money. And so if they are the ones that are benefiting financially, if schools are benefiting financially because they need the funds, I could understand that. I could understand the exposure for players who probably never get a chance to shine on the big stage, and this is their moment. I can understand that, but you got to earn it. And it just doesn't feel like it's truly earned if we're just doing it to expand. I think it's just greed, honestly. Like, honestly, it's just greed because they're expanding the college football playoffs too. Everybody just want to have more people in it. That's what it is, Alicia.
Yeah, definitely. There's a little bit of greed involved there for sure. Anytime there could be some extra money involved, that's not too far behind. But a lot of people are also saying that it could enhance, specifically with the women's tournament, the competition in the earlier rounds. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if I buy that. I think I'd say maybe 3 years, we have really seen an increase in parity across the landscape. I just mentioned moments ago about, Norfolk State, which was, I believe, like a 12 seed going up against Maryland and giving them the business down to the wire where it looked like Maryland was going home. Like that was an upset. We've seen a 1 seed lose to a 16 seed. Princeton, I believe, recently was a 16 seed that beat a 1 seed. Like we have seen the women really come out and show out in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. And so I am not one that believes that expanding this will all of a sudden make this more appealing for first round upsets or anything like that. I think we're already headed in that discussion. You see South Dakota up there. That was a team that had many years been owning their conference, and they finally got a chance to get some shine on the big stage in the first round. So I'm excited when I see these first round matchups. The games are close. The games have been good. It's unlike 10 years ago where you automatically knew that it was most likely going to be a UConn or a Tennessee that was going to win. Occasionally, a Notre Dame could sneak in there somewhere, or a Baylor could sneak in there somewhere. The field is so different now. It is literally anybody's game. And so I don't necessarily buy that expanding increases the parity. It doesn't really feel that way to me.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that way to me either. I just say keep it the way that it is. It's a beautiful tournament. We definitely look forward to every single year. And this year is going to be no different with the talent that is in the college field this year. What teams are you looking forward to watching, in this upcoming season? I know it's like super early for that, but
Oh, I know. Well, I'm always going to be excited to see Lauren Betts because she's making her return in her final season. So UCLA is definitely someone that we're watching. Gino decided he's not leaving. So I guess we got to keep UConn on our list because AZ Fudd is still there. They're still making some noise. We saw what Sarah Strong can do, and that was just as a freshman. So very excited to see if they have an opportunity to repeat. South Carolina always re-ups. I call Dawn Staley the women's college basketball version of Nick Saban because no matter how many times we see people graduate and get drafted, there's always another lineup ready right there to come and take the spot. So South Carolina is always going to be on top of that conversation. And then, of course, some smaller schools, like I mentioned, Norfolk State is a school that I want to see how they continue to kind of grow their brand and grow their name and grow their players. So I stay ready for NCAA season. I stay ready.
yeah, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And we'll definitely be putting those teams down to watch. But some teams that we're looking forward to watch are the Golden State Valkyries and the Las Vegas Aces that are going to be in a big matchup on CBS this weekend. And we're going to break down that game in the final segment right when we come back. Make sure that you not only watch us live right here, but also where you can find us on YouTube and check out all of our socials because we're there too. But when we come back, we're going to talk about this big matchup on CBS. Stay right there. We'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. It's now time to preview our game of the week, and that is Golden State Valkyries at the Las Vegas Aces, which will take place on Saturday, July 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. This is going to be a very interesting matchup, Terrika. The last time that the Valkyries took on the Aces, it was 68-95 in the Valkyries' favor. So when you look at both of these teams, first of all, what do you like about each team right now? And specifically, like, where does both team needs to improve? That's a question I definitely want to answer.
Yeah. So what do I like about both teams? Well, I'm going to need some time to think about what I like about the Aces from time to time because we already talked about they can sometimes be inconsistent. But when they're on, they're on. This team is full of vets. And when you think about that, it kind of puts you in a position where you're like, they should know exactly what they need to do. And Jackie Young is someone who continues to show that she knows what she needs to do when she's in the right position. She can be the defensive anchor for this team. She can bring the ball up the court. She can be your threat to score. Jackie Young is going to be so important to this matchup on Saturday. It's also going to be important for NaLyssa Smith to continue to find her groove, especially if A'ja Wilson is unable to play. And the first couple of games that she's played since she's been on this team, she's averaged a double-double. She has absolutely been someone who's just good at basketball. So it really is about just adjusting, learning the scheme, and getting more acclimated to the team. So you love that. What I want to see more from an improvement standpoint for the Aces is we've got to see Jewell Loyd get more involved in the offense. Jewell Loyd is such an X factor for this team when she's on. And it's not necessarily that she hasn't been scoring, but it just has oftentimes felt like it hasn't been enough. And we want to see Jewell be the explosive gold mama that we know that she is. If you can get that from her, you'll see the difference in how the Valkyries will have to guard this team and the spacing that can occur on the floor. Getting her working, getting Chelsea Gray the opportunity to kind of kick it out to someone, that's going to be important for this team. So those are some of the improvements that I want. But the Valkyries are not going to make it easy. They put on a show against the Indiana Fever, and they won convincingly. How did they do that? Well, one, they owned the boards. They're not a team that's huge. They probably got 2 or 3 players that are over 6'2", 6'3", but they own the board. They control the glass. They know how to force you into playing the kind of basketball at their pace. They make you take the shots that they want you to take. They control the glass. Kayla Thornton has been incredible. Caitlin Shin has really shown up. Like, this is a team that has been slept on as an expansion team, and they are making folks take notice. So that's going to be something that I'm interested in seeing. How well do they continue to control the pace of the game?
Yeah, control the pace of the game. But also one thing the Valkyries are doing that I love is on any given night, you have a player that is stepping up. Like, if they have, I mean, you could go down the list of all the players, Kayla Thornton, Tiffany Hayes, Kate Martin, Veronica Burton, and the list goes on and on. When somebody isn't necessarily having their best game, someone steps up and has their best game. And so it's been really amazing to see how they are all, I don't want to say falling into Natalie Nakase's way of playing, but it's a very strategic game, and they're all bought in. They're all locked in. And you really aren't going to necessarily, there are games when they've struggled. I mean, they are an expansion team at the end of the day. But by and large, you always have somebody on that team that is stepping up, and it's a really special thing to see. So let's just talk about this matchup specifically that's coming up. Who do you think is going to win this matchup, Terrika?
I think a lot of it is going to depend on whether or not A'ja Wilson is going to suit up. And I've not heard anything. I've not seen any, updates from the team per se. So this is just speculation on my end. But if she does not play, I definitely feel like this is a game that Golden State will definitely have the advantage. Like I mentioned in their last matchup, they were able to cut off the paint for Indiana. If you cut off the paint and force the Vegas Aces to shoot outside, maybe they're on, maybe they're not. But I love the fact that they have the ability to do that. It's going to test them, and that's going to be difficult. I mean, this Aces team runs so much through A'ja Wilson that not having her on the court, we saw earlier when she was out with a concussion, how difficult it was for this Vegas team to pull together and string together some wins. And so the way that Golden State has been playing, again, the physicality that they bring, the defensive effort that they continue to bring, Natalie Nakase has got to be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. And I say that as someone who was very critical at the beginning of this season. I was like, girl, I don't know how you drafting. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's the leg. Oh my God, you cut Letitia Amir. What in the heck is going on in Golden State? And she's proved all of us wrong. This is also a team coached by someone who used to be the assistant coach for the Las Vegas Aces. And so that means she understands tendencies. She knows how they play. She knows what they like to run and what they like to do. She has a familiarity, so she can coach and scout very differently with this team. So I think the Valkyries have the edge here.
No doubt it's going to be a great game. The Golden State Valkyries and the Las Vegas Aces. Again, it's going to take place on Saturday, July 12th at 4 p.m. ET on CBS. So make sure that you tune in for that. And thank you for tuning in for this episode of We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. Make sure you lock in with us on social, YouTube, and we'll stay connected in every way. And until then, we will see you right back at We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.